What does it actually take to win the Ballon d'Or? Is lifting the World Cup at just 19 years old enough? Or is it taking home the Bundesliga while hammering in 73 goals across 63 games? Okay, what about scoring 42 goals for the biggest club on the planet and becoming the all-time leading scorer in World Cup history? Fine. Maybe it's being the undisputed star player on a Champions League winning squad. The answer is simple. Every single one of them has a legitimate claim, but not when all of these achievements are happening in the exact same season. And to be completely honest, I don't believe the Ballon d'Or is awarded to the best player. It is a narrative-driven trophy. So let's break down the 5 main narratives, starting with candidate number 1, Harry Kane. Multiple power rankings across various outlets currently have Kane listed as the frontrunner. He scored the second most single-season goals in football history, behind only prime Lionel Messi. He secured the league title and the DFB Pokal, trophies Bayern surprisingly hadn't picked up in 5 years. On top of that, he carried his nation to a World Cup semi-final right off the back of his greatest individual season ever. And sure, he fell short in the Champions League and the World Cup, but out of 69 past Ballon d'Or winners, 41 of them didn't achieve both of those in their winning year either. We can actually take this a step further. 11 of those past winners never won both across their entire careers. Look at how Luka Modric was rewarded for his 2018 World Cup run. Even though his team didn't win the final, Modric did take home the Champions League. Either way, Harry Kane boasts domestic silverware, ridiculous individual numbers, and a deep tournament run with his country. It's the closest thing to a full house in this entire race. Now let's examine case number 2, the top performer at the World Cup outside of Messi, who also produced a massively prolific season at Real Madrid, Kylian Mbappe. He finished as the top goalscorer in La Liga, the top goalscorer in the World Cup, and the top goalscorer in the Champions League. People somehow forgot he was an elite world-class talent, even while his numbers were proving it every week. His reputation had plummeted, largely due to off-pitch friction with his Real Madrid teammates and a toxic fan base surrounding him. But Mbappe delivered an incredible performance for France that single-handedly revived his argument. It's not like France crashed out in the group stages. They were knocked out in the semi-finals by the eventual champions, Spain. But since we know this award is driven by story arcs, will that be sufficient? To be entirely truthful, it just might. With his public image doing a complete 180 and a season packed with unforgettable displays, he stands a real chance. Then you have the prodigy who lifted the World Cup just 1 week after turning 19, the baby goat, Lamine Yamal. Winning a World Cup gives you a massive advantage in the Ballon d'Or conversation. Out of the 17 players who won the award during a World Cup year, 7 of them were world champions that same summer. However, if you reference France Football's updated historical list that includes non-European players prior to 1995, that number jumps to 12. So what makes Yamal's claim so unique? After all, Rodri won the World Cup as well, and he's right here in the mix. Well, Yamal is an absolute stats monster. His overall game presence impacts the match continuously, even when he isn't directly registering goals or assists. And remember, the Ballon d'Or is built on narrative. The fact that he's doing all of this as a teenager makes it exponentially more mind-blowing, fueling his campaign even further. Plus, he passes the eye test with absolute ease. Is there any player who passes the eye test more than Lamine Yamal? Well, maybe. And that brings us to the next name on our list, Ousmane Dembélé. Dembélé's Ballon d'Or bid is perhaps the ultimate example of individual brilliance pairing up with team triumph. He acted as the focal point in PSG's historic Champions League victory, becoming the very first player in the modern era of the competition to score in every single knockout round on the road to lifting the trophy, all while being named League One Player of the Season. Dembélé's argument isn't backed solely by impressive personal statistics. He was the attacking focal point of a side that claimed the biggest prize in club football, delivering decisive goals and masterclasses throughout that entire European campaign. He and Kvaratskhelia demonstrated exactly why they are considered the premier wingers on earth during that historic Champions League semi-final battle against Bayern Munich. He tallied 33 goal contributions in 40 appearances for PSG, alongside a World Cup hat-trick, which he surprisingly claimed wasn't even his top performance. He noted that his display against Senegal was actually superior because he felt far more impactful overall. Looking at his heat map, you can see he covered every inch of grass, proving his relentless work rate and team-first mindset. Furthermore, when you watch him isolate defenders on the ball, you never know which direction he's going to burst, simply because he is so naturally two-footed. There's a famous quote where he states that he's naturally left-footed, but prefers taking penalties with his right because he strikes them better. That is just absurd. His dribbling style is pure entertainment. The shoulder drops, the body feints, and especially those quick fake shots. Defenders genuinely cannot guess which foot he plans to strike with, so they fall for the hesitation every single time. Could he potentially go back-to-back with major honors after making history in the Champions League? Now, let's shift focus to the second World Cup winner in our top 5, Rodri. He is the only other name on this list who has already taken home a Ballon d'Or trophy. His case centers around his sheer influence as the engine room of one of the dominant teams in global football, securing a domestic double with the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, paired with that World Cup title we highlighted earlier. His capability to dictate the rhythm of a match, control possession, and provide rock-solid defensive protection makes him arguably the most complete midfielder in the entire conversation. Keep in mind, he achieved all this while returning from a torn ACL, remaining absolutely crucial to the success of both Manchester City and Spain. His performances were flawless. Rodri stands out as one of the finest modern holding midfielders the sport has ever seen. The main factor holding him back might be his total minutes played, but whenever he stepped onto the pitch, he was unbelievable. His World Cup campaign only reconfirmed why he operates at a Ballon d'Or standard. Now, there are several elite players I haven't mentioned, like Pedri, Messi, Rice, Jude Bellingham, Alisson, Ruben Dias, Kvaratskhelia, Haaland, Vitinha, and others. Every one of them could easily fit into this debate, but I narrowed it down to the 5 who hold the absolute strongest claims. To me, it boils down to those 5 names. And who actually wins depends entirely on what the voters prioritize. If you value raw, undeniable goal-scoring numbers, it's Harry Kane. If you value showing up in the biggest pressure cooker moments for both club and country, it's Mbappe. If you favor the magical storyline of a teenager dominating on the sport's grandest stage, it's Yamal. If you prioritize winning the Champions League paired with a deep World Cup run, it's Dembélé. And if you value being the core reason the best teams on the planet actually function, it's Rodri. So, who takes home the Ballon d'Or? That depends entirely on who you ask and what they value most. Remember, this is decided by votes from journalists all over the world, so we can never predict it with total certainty. It's almost impossible to guess, so we'll just have to wait and see.